Welcome, I'm Nina Gryphon, and this is the Astrology and Magic channel. Today, we'll talk about the astrology of the solar eclipse of October 14th, 2023. First off, I wanted to say thank you to all of my patrons. I appreciate all of your support. If you would like to get access to this video early, like all of my patrons, you can visit patreon.com/Nina Gryphon. At the highest tier of Patreon, you can get my monthly ebook, Magical Elections, which teaches you how and when to make astrological magical talismans. The solar eclipse of October 14th will take place at 21 degrees of Libra with the South Node. First, let's talk a little bit about the nature of the sign of Libra and its ruling planet and what that means for this eclipse. Libra is a humane or human sign because it's one of the air signs, which means that eclipses in Libra are going to be felt primarily in the realm of people, the social sphere, but also weather, because traditionally the air signs were associated with weather and weather changes. Now, the condition of the ruling planet of the eclipse is Venus. Venus is the planet of relating, harmony, social coexistence. She also rules women, the LGBTQ community, and the arts. These people and areas of life will all be impacted and emphasized during the period of the eclipse, which we'll talk about the duration later. Now, Venus now is in Virgo, the sign of her fall, so we are going to be forced to focus on matters of Venus, relationships, harmonious coexistence, peace, issues involving women, but through the lens of her fall. Virgo is an earth sign ruled by Mercury, the god of details, so Venus will be forced to deal with matters that are very concrete and specific. Negotiations could be very constructive now because they're a practical manifestation of Venus. Now let's talk about the aspects to Venus in this chart. Venus in the chart for the eclipse will make an opposition to Saturn, which shows that the desire for union is facing serious obstacles. In the United States, the chart set for Washington, D.C., the opposition is in the 2nd and 8th house axis, suggesting that here there will be major negotiations about money and debt, which are 2nd and 8th house issues, but the discussions will be blocked or at least will go slowly because that is the nature of Saturn, to slow things down and to create blockages. Now note that the solar eclipse is placed in the 3rd decan of Libra. According to William Lilly, who was working with Ptolemy's delineations of the eclipses, this means that, and I quote, "It premonishes of high controversies amongst the nobility, and great detriment in their estates, much prodigality amongst them, and the extirpation of some one family." End quote. Extirpation, by the way, means complete destruction. It suggests difficulties for the wealthy and powerful, because Jupiter is the ruler of this decan, and Jupiter rules the wealthy and powerful in society. This will be largely due to economic overspending or excesses, and also the extinguishment of a dynasty or perhaps a famous or powerful family who is going to have a dramatic fall. Now let's talk about places where the solar eclipse will manifest. The path of the solar eclipse across the globe can predict areas that will experience major changes in the coming months and years. Solar eclipse is visible in North, Central, and South America, and these are all areas, even where the eclipse is partially visible, that could experience some social and political changes or upheavals, as well as weather events linked to this eclipse. However, it's the area of the total eclipse path that will experience the full power of the eclipse and its greatest, most dramatic effects. This eclipse will be visible in the United States in its fullness. The full eclipse, the total eclipse, will start in Oregon on the west coast, then pass through Nevada, Utah, the Four Corners, New Mexico, and Texas, and then enter the Gulf of Mexico. But really, all of the continental US will have at least a partial view of the eclipse, so we cannot eliminate any state from consideration, and we have to assume that the events of the eclipse will impact the whole country to some extent. In addition, southern Mexico and all of Central America will have full or nearly full visibility of the eclipse as well. I would note that very large protests have been happening in Guatemala pertaining to an opposition presidential candidate who was suspended from participating in elections. Similar to North America, no country in South America won't have at least some visibility of the eclipse. Don't forget that this area could also get significant earthquakes and other major acts of nature. Now let's talk about the duration of the eclipse and the length of its effect, which can be quite significant. The traditional rule of thumb is that the number of hours of visibility in a given area gives you the number of years during which the eclipse will be active. In Eugene, Oregon, which is the start of the eclipse path, the partial eclipse from start to finish will be 2.5 hours, so the eclipse effect there would be about 2.5 years. In San Antonio, Texas, again from partial eclipse through full and then to the end, will be a little over 3 hours, so the effect there would last a bit longer, about 3 years from the date of the eclipse. So in the United States, the effects we discussed will likely be present for 2.5 to 3 years, depending on the exact location where you're watching the eclipse. This means that the eclipse could impact not only the end of 2023, but also 2024, during which we will have presidential and other important elections, all of 2025, and some of 2026. So the effects of this eclipse on the United States could be far-reaching. Thanks for watching. I'm Nina Gryphon, and this is the Astrology and Magic channel.